Welcome to the Simplify Your Life podcast. It's Coach Simona, and I'm glad you decided to tune in. Hey everyone! In today's podcast episode, we're going to talk about being easily distracted. And I'm going to share with you 5 tips on how to not get distracted and become more focused. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Simona, certified life coach and author of the book 111 Ways to Simplify Your Life. I make weekly podcast episodes on personal development, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe. Now, before we get into my 5 tips on how to not get distracted and have a laser-sharp focus, I have a confession to make. I have to consciously work on not being easily distracted every single day. All it takes for my mind to completely wander off is not having enough sleep or feeling overwhelmed by all the tasks on my to-do list. So I completely understand what it feels like to get distracted by everything. And I know that you're probably listening to this podcast episode also as a form of distraction. Leave me a comment down below if that's you. Now let's get straight into my first tip on how to stop getting distracted. Focus on doing one thing at a time. For the longest time, I prided myself on being a multitasker. But when it comes to distracting yourself, trying to do too many things at once is definitely not the way to go. When you're context switching, meaning you start doing one type of task, then switch to a completely different one, then come back to the first one, you're actually slowing yourself down, because your brain now has to start from scratch. By choosing to do one thing at a time, you'll find it easier to focus on your current task. The trick here is to consciously choose to do so. For example, let's say you're just about to get to work and you have lots of things on your plate. So you just pick one, only one, and completely forget about the rest until you finish it. You can even say it in your mind so it's easier to stick to it. I'm going to work on writing this blog post and I won't do anything else until I finish it. By saying this sentence, you're priming yourself for being focused on the task at hand. Setting the intention to do it will help you strengthen the neural pathways. And repetition will lead to behavioral change, which is what we're aiming for in the long run. You can't switch from a multitasker or a person who gets easily distracted to a focus ninja in just a matter of minutes. But you can definitely choose to consciously do it by repeating the same one task at a time theme over and over again. Which leads me to tip number 2. Schedule things in your calendar. This sounds like a lot of work and may even feel constraining in the beginning, but I promise you, it works. The trick to effective calendar blocking is to give yourself more time than you think you're gonna need. For example, if you think you're gonna need 30 minutes to outline a podcast episode, give yourself an hour. Okay, but what happens if you've already tried this and you still get distracted? I recommend looking at your calendar every hour. If you're easily distracted, that means that you probably get into negative thinking loops, daydreaming, or you spend a lot of time on social media or your phone. So checking the time at least once every hour will help you stay on track with this schedule. Make sure you have a watch, a clock on your wall, or get into the habit of checking the time on your computer screen as often as possible. The more connected you are to the present moment, the easier it will be to snap out of the distraction and get back to work. Now, I've already made a video on how to schedule your day for maximum productivity. So if you haven't watched it, head over to youtube.com/coachsimona. or click the link in the description box below. Tip number 3 is to pay attention to your biggest distractions and eliminate them. Easier said than done, right? I'll be honest with you. It took me months to get over my YouTube addiction a few years ago. It was my go-to safety blanket when I had a lot on my plate and I wanted to procrastinate. The only thing that truly works for me was self-awareness and removing the distraction altogether, no matter how painful it felt. If you've ever been addicted to something such as binging Netflix, eating junk food, or scrolling on social media, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It can actually feel physically painful to step away from the distraction. So what can you do about it? First of all, I want you to write down your top 3 distractions. Not just think about them, actually write them down so you can see them and help your mind process them better. Once you have your list of distractions, I want you to write down next to each one of them what step you're going to take to eliminate it from your daily routine. For example, if you're spending too much time on your phone, write down something like, I'm going to leave my phone in the other room, or I'm going to delete my social media apps, or anything else that seems fitting to your particular situation. If you've noticed that you get distracted, mainly because you're avoiding your feelings, or you're trying to run away from your problems, Listen to episode 99 next. I will leave a link below. The next tip I have for you when it comes to not getting easily distracted is to stop beating yourself up. One of the most important things you can do for your productivity and focus is to understand where you're coming from and develop self-compassion. If you're constantly distracted, that is a sign that you're avoiding something and you need to dig deeper instead of constantly beating yourself up over it. So watch your negative self-talk and see what's truly going on inside. If your inner critic is harsh, that is your clue why you're easily distracted. You want to avoid the pain of facing the negative thoughts you're having, so you're trying to escape the loop. But the irony is that by distracting yourself, you're actually perpetuating the cycle. The more you distract yourself and procrastinate, the harder you're going to be on yourself. So what do you do in this situation? How can you actually stop beating yourself up? One of the things I recommend is to start tracking the most repetitive negative thoughts you have on a daily basis, the ones that keep popping up in your head. When you write them down, you're going to notice that they often lead to unpleasant emotions such as anxiety, sadness, anger, etc. By writing them down, you will also notice the link between your thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Your behavior in this case is to distract yourself. So by reverse engineering the entire process, you can get to the root cause, which is always your trigger in this situation. To help you with that, I've made a super simple free cheat sheet where you can fill in your negative thoughts, emotions, and behaviors so that you can stop getting easily distracted. You can download it by clicking the first link in the description box below or visiting bit.ly/thoughtrecord2. Tip number 5 is to reward yourself for being focused. Adding small rewards when you're not distracting yourself will reinforce this behavior and you'll be more likely to repeat it. For example, next time you manage to do a task from start to finish without checking your notifications or doing something else that you usually do to distract yourself, reward yourself. By doing that, you will notice that you will start anticipating these rewards and reinforce the habit of taking action instead of thinking or over-planning. What you can also do to turn your distractions into guilt-free leisure activities is to actually set aside some time to experience them. For example, let's say you love watching cooking videos on YouTube. Instead of craving that particular distraction when you have a lot of work to do, save them for a later time. You can even schedule an evening break in your calendar so it's even more exciting. This could be your little treat for being focused and distraction-free throughout the day. Your mind will always prefer pleasure over pain. So you need to be aware of this and find a way to negotiate with yourself. You can even say to yourself something like, okay, once I finish this task, I will spend 10 minutes on Instagram. By giving yourself a time frame, you will make the reward deliberate and you will be more likely to stick to the limit you've set for yourself. If you struggle with moving into action quickly, I recommend watching my video on how to become a doer instead of a thinker. I will leave a link to it in the description box below. Being distracted by everything is often a sign of repressed trauma. If you're constantly dissociating or using distractions as a way to numb the pain, this may require deeper healing. So the first step you can do is download the automatic thought record tool I mentioned in the beginning of this episode by visiting bit.ly/thoughtrecord2. Seeking distractions is always a symptom of a deeper problem. Once you get to the root of it, you will no longer feel as compelled to get distracted. By filling out this free cheat sheet daily, you will notice more and more patterns, and you will be able to break the vicious cycle. All you have to do is start. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like it. And subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss out on my weekly podcast episodes. I'm sending you all my love, and I'll talk to you in the next one.